Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. So I started this once and I got, I've got a really froggy throat. It's just allergy season here. And, it was clearing my throat a lot, the first few words. And so I cut it off, started again, or thought I started again, and then looked up probably about 5 minutes in and saw that, in fact, I wasn't. I wasn't recording. So I finally got the Heart of Faerie Oracle. And this has been on my wish list since I found out that it existed, which was after I got the Fairies Oracle, which I love. And I found out about it, I don't know, it was a few years ago anyway, and it was, I don't know if it was newly out of print or if it had been out. It was so recently out of print that it was still hundreds of dollars. It was like $400, $500 on Amazon, just absurd price on Amazon. And it frequently is still an absurd price on Amazon. But every now and then, it will appear for a brief time at a reasonable price, and I've seen it in like the $60 to $70 range and have kind of regretted not grabbing it, but had financial reasons for not doing that. And so I recently found it for $55. And so I thought, you know what, this is it. And it was quote unquote new. The outer box is not damaged. The inner box was a little bit damaged. There was a band, but it could have been, anybody could have put that band around the cards. And this first card is a little damaged. But not, I mean, it's the sort of damage that will eventually happen as a matter of shuffling, probably anyway. So it doesn't bother me too much. Even if for some reason I couldn't have this card, had to remove this card from the deck, I don't think I would fret over that particularly. Of course, I don't know what the card means yet, but that's just my general attitude. So this had been on and off of my wish list because I thought that some of the cards in this were a little too similar to the cards in the Fairies Oracle. But in the end, my love of Brian Froud, his artwork, overcame that. It won out, and it went back on my wish list. And I'm kind of thinking that I would almost rather have these two decks of Brian Froud's work than his books, partly because his books are so oversized, which I love that. But I don't know, they're just hard to keep. Big oversized books. So yeah, I'm loving the fact that I have it, but I haven't gotten to know it. I did go through. I'm not going to do a walkthrough because this deck has been out there for a long time. But I thought I would do a deck interview with it, and I've looked through it. And I will say this, that the cards kind of stick together like a new deck does. When I first got it out of the box, they were definitely sticking together like a new set of cards does. But yeah, I thought I would do a deck interview and read some from this, and just looking at the edges to see. There might be some other ones that look like they've had some wear. So it's not, I don't know, you might not be able to see it. But anyway, whatever. It's complete set. And so I'm not going to fuss too much. pretty much if I buy used on Amazon and I actually get the deck instead of only the book, I'm pretty well satisfied. I've got one more deck that has been on my wish list for a long time, not as long as this has been on there, and that's the Victorian Fairies Tarot. Still waiting for that one to come down. I think it'll be a few more years yet. So my version of being a fangirl is not as intense as a lot of people's. I had the Fairies Oracle, or the Fairies book, when I was young, you know, when I was in my teens or somewhere along in there. Is where I developed my love of Brian Froud. And then that came back into my life a few years ago. I can't remember exactly where it showed up. And then the Lady Coddington's Pressed Fairies book, or Pressed Fairy Letters, something like that. I got in a trade, in a deck trade. Somebody suggested, and I said, yeah, we'll go for that. And I can't remember what I was trading, but and I enjoyed it for a little while, and then passed it on to a friend who I knew would enjoy it, and invited her to pass it on to somebody else that, you know, that she knows who would enjoy it. So yeah. But I am enough of a fan to get both of the decks that are available, that's for sure. And time will tell whether I get a lot of use out of it, or a little bit of use out of it. I am really missing my, you know, I haven't been using the Fairies Oracle, and I'm really missing it. I'm missing my, the moon readings I used to do, the full and new moon readings I used to do, because I would often use my oracles. But I'm not quite at the point where I'm ready to dive into anything that appears to be steady on my channel. I'm not there. So what do I do here? It's a fairies deck. I'll be a little bit tricksy. Of course, for other people, it's not tricksy. I would normally pull from the top, but since I've only spent a limited time shuffling this, I'm going to do some of these. Oh my goodness. So how would you describe yourself is the first question, and it's the hidden one. Oh. So maybe there's some hidden aspect to this deck that I'm not aware of. So let's see. Maybe that's why people often, well, some people just don't like these decks at all. It just doesn't work for them. But some people really like the Fairies Oracle, but they don't particularly like this one. So this is awareness, attention, self-absorption. She's crouching, waiting, watching as you walk along. Poised to stick her foot out and trip you. She grabs your hair and gives it a painful tug. Okay. The purpose, what purpose does she serve in fairy or in our world? She serves the same purpose as every fairy, to help you become more aware. So, I mean, isn't that a large part of what we we're doing as readers, you know, is to reveal this, especially since this is supposed to be the heart of fairy, used for love readings or relationship readings, to find out who has been tripping us up, or if there is something that we need to be made aware of. Mm-hmm. So it says, are you passing blindly through the day, through relationships, through life itself? She'll trip you up and make you stop and pay attention. Okay. That works. So now I'm going to put that back on there. And so the next one is, what is this deck's opinion of me? I'm the rocks. Oh my God. 17. I think this is not from something else I watched about this deck, that this is not particularly complimentary. Manipulation, neediness. Well, I do have too many decks. Neediness, make an effort. The poor rocks, always ill. True enough. Well, I can't say that. I do have good days. I've gotten out, just a couple days ago. I got in 2 dog walks. That would be 2-mile long walks in a day, and then the next day did another mile walk. So that's not too bad. But here I am coughing. As I said, I had to restart for that. He just can't gather the energy to help himself, but he always has enough energy to get you to help him. Well, I wish I were better at that. I have to pay people to help me. So, what do we say here? Okay, so it's accusing me of being a master of manipulation. Yeah, fair enough. Maybe my purchasing of this deck definitely would give the impression that I just have to have whatever I want. Yeah, but I tell you, it's been a long road for me in terms of asking for help. So I'm going to stick my tongue out at the deck, which strikes me as an appropriately fairy-like thing to do. Well, since this stayed down on the table, we're going to do this one next. What is the one thing you ask of me? Oh no. Was that 49? Oh yeah, that 50's up here. All right, 49. Oh no. Just one of those days, obstructions, the unexpected. This is one thing that the deck is asking of me. How funny. Look at him. Look at him. He's been waiting a long time to be picked. He's so eager to do his job, and it's easy to see what that job is. You guessed it. It's making sure that things aren't going to go the way you want them to go. Breaking your favorite cup, etc., etc., etc. So what to do? You can go back to bed, a really tempting idea, but remember that your cat or dog has already taken the warm spot you vacated and isn't going to give it up easily. Or you can just accept that Sometimes life isn't what you expect and certainly not what you think it should be. So, so much like many decks, I feel like this is asking me to give the deck a chance, to not reject the deck offhand. So that's what I'm thinking there. How will you challenge me? Sure, I'll go with that one. The blessing. Well, that's interesting. Particularly good card. I finally get a particularly good card, and it's in a challenge position. The blessing. Blessings of the day. Journey beginnings. So how will you challenge me? Well, getting started with this deck a little bit. It's not immediately intuitive, and so I will have to learn the meanings so I could see that. It says a journey takes you from one state of being to another, and it is important to begin that journey, whatever it is, with a blessing. So this is a card of benediction, so I need to accept the blessing, maybe to give a blessing as well to the deck. So how sweet. I'm not quite seeing, except for the whole idea of beginnings, that can be challenging. Otherwise, that doesn't strike me as very challenging. So, what is the potential outcome of our time together? Queen of the day. So, surrender, transition, trust. Oh no, wrong. That's Queen of Passing. The Queen of the Day, grace, beauty, blessing. So more blessings. This being the potential outcome of our time today, together. The Queen of the Day is a queen of blessings. She is light after darkness, the sun and shadow of an awakening day. If you were lucky enough to draw this card, then you are blessed. So it acts very fast, from the blessing to being blessed. And there is an aspect here of appreciating, being grateful for the beauty and grace around me. So cool. And then lastly, what readings do you enjoy the most? So what readings does Fairies, the Heart of Faerie, we won't make any assumptions. The paradox, oh how bizarre. So the paradox, of course, you can look at it this way, or you can look at it this way. So most of my cards that I have chosen here have come from the way back of the pack here, which could be interesting. I might look at that. 52. So paradox. And oh no. And the hidden one are all part of the tricksters. So I have a very trickstery reading here going on. Like makes it 4. Well, 1, 2, 3 of my 6 cards are tricksters. And one of them is the Journey card, which was the original Blessing card back right here. That's called a Journey card. And then one of them was the Queen's Consorts, the Rocks was. And then Queen for the Day is one of the Fairy Queens. All right, so about the paradox, the readings that it enjoys the most. Resolution of opposites, intuitive decision, and tricky situation. Okay, so it, you know, it doesn't want, if it's doing romance, it doesn't want, when is he going to call me? It wants more like this person or that person, or should I really even be dating this person, or should I move to the other side of the country to be this person, to be with this person? So it starts out saying it's good, but it's bad. It's right, but it's wrong. I wonder if this would work for money readings. I'm very tied up about, I have so many things that are essentially too expensive but need to be done to this house, that I have had a lot of trouble deciding. What is the first thing that's too expensive that I will, regardless, end up putting money into? It's talking about fairies in general and their generally paradoxical nature. I'm glad that there's, I think, 3 cards in this deck that have no little note on it. That's for, it's just intuitive reading, and I'm glad that they have not turned up in this initial deck interview. So your intellect tells you that this is a good thing, but your gut instinct tells you it's a bad thing. This is a time to stop and really, really pay attention. Look for signs. Examine your feelings, your intuition, your hunches. If you draw this card singly, you may want to take another to help clarify. If you have drawn this with, for example, the Queen of the Night and the Prince of Shadows, then be very, very careful how you proceed with a relationship. The way won't be clear, and something that feels right may, in this case, be really quite wrong, or holds more danger than is wise to risk. Okay, well, interesting. There we go. I'm going to do a quick look through. So I have this other deck interview type of a thing where you go through and you look for like the card that looks like you, a funny card, divine masculine card, divine feminine. I don't think I'm going to do all of these, but I'll look for some cards and see if they, if any of them strike me one way or the other. Maybe I'll look for one that looks like me, or I don't know that there are any that look like me. I do not have a fairy build. This one might come close. Of course, Brian Froud has a thing for very long necks on his fairies and his people. That is not a normal neck. Now some people do have really long necks, but there's something about that neck that doesn't look quite right to me. like this fairy is like a friend. I find this card fairly creepy, so that kind of fits the scary. This is the one where there's another one that's very clearly the same model, and that doesn't work for me. There's that one, and there's another where there are two cards that appear to be the same model and are just a little bit too similar within this deck. But again, it's an oracle, and so if for some reason I think of I think that I want to remove one so I don't have that irritation, I can do that. And here he is again, yeah, the guy with the big hair. Or the girl. It's a little androgynous. So one of the categories here would be cards you could have a crush on. I could see Prince of Shadows. I could see having a crush on him. But a crush to me, so I'll remove him, doesn't necessarily mean that I would actually have a relationship with the person. A crush to me is more a dreamy sort of thing where you actually keep your distance. I don't know. I think this person, and it's really, I'm going by the fact that she has dark hair and she has lots of it. That's pretty much my only criteria here. So this is the Fairy of Youth. So one of the little categories here is a funny card. I don't know that this is a funny card, but she looks like somebody I could laugh with without too much trouble. You know, there's a lot of humor like this. I mean, maybe this is the funny card. She kind of has my nose. And I sleep a lot. I'm going to stick with the green woman, though. Let's see. I like these fairies, but they don't really fit. I'm gonna keep them out anyway. Well, this is a funny card, surely. The big behind. So that has to be the funny card. So one of these, so I've got a friend, I've got a scary, I've got a card that looks like me, I've got a funny, I've got a crush. So one of the things is you're supposed to find a soul card. This is also funny, but maybe this is my soul card. I feel like I am so divided in my thinking these days. This or that, and end up kind of frozen. But I'll look for another. I might have to look through it again in terms of a soul card. I don't know that I've seen any that I feel like I need to help. That's another one. Or who I would take as my guide. So this could also, although I'm, you know, when I was younger, this could very definitely, just because of shyness, I'm definitely not nearly as shy as I used to be. Kind of gotten way over it. but I do seclude myself. You know, I'm very hermitish. Um, I don't trip people. I don't do that. But you know, I've often thought that I would be perfectly happy living under a rock and just peeking out at the world every now and then. So are any of these what I would call a soul card? I don't know if I have a soul card. Like I said, there's there's this one. Or as a guide. I think I might have to read about them before I could come up with a guide. I don't know. Let me do a quick flip through here and see. I do like the blessing as a potential guide. I don't know. That might be a soul card for me. Of course, all I'm doing here is going by visuals. A soul card or a guide. So I think this speaks my, you know, kind of going through, and it's like, I don't know. For one thing, it speaks to my indecision, right, of two minds. But this, that I take myself to be what I would call a fairy friend, but not a fairy. Not a fairy herself. A fairy friend, but not a fairy. So I'm going to look this up. I'll take the blessing as a guide. I like that. And then let me see if this is a soul card for me. And what would this be in? What section? This is in the journey, which makes some sense. Intention, dialogue, answers. And I think of part of the reason I chose this is because, well, I love the dark crystal, and this creature here looks like a dark crystal creature. And it's just a cool, I really like the card. And the child, and I just really like it. I just really like it. And then this is the question, and I do a lot of questioning. I question a lot of stuff. Why this way? Why that way? What should I do? I don't do too much of what they have here, like, who am I? What is my quest? But it says here, in fairy, questions are very important. Questions, answers, and wishes, all of those things that help or hinder us on our journey, are very much a part of our relationship with fairy. So yeah. says here, it is important to know why you are traveling in Faerie and to be able to express that reason. You will be asked when you cross the border into the other world. You will be asked when you cross the border into the other world. You should have a reason to be there. Are you a tourist just looking around hoping to send a postcard? Are you on a quest, a journey of the spirit? Do you want knowledge, experience of the other world? Are you looking for love? Are you searching for something that you have lost? So interesting. If you draw the question in a reading, try to answer those questions for yourself. I like it. I definitely will take that as my soul card. And it makes some sense. Here the rocks is on the top, and it was saying that it perceived me as this sorry critter here. And if I choose this as my soul card, to me, and just reading that means that maybe I need to be asking this deck about some of my health issues or my journey to physical healing, which is something I would never have thought to do, to ask this deck that sort of a question. But hey. So very cool. I don't have the Fairies Oracle handy. I'm curious whether the cards are the same size and whether you could mix this deck. I'm wondering if the Fairies Oracle isn't just a tad longer than this. I'm going to see if I can lay my hands on it quickly. Yep. Sparkly bag for the fairies. So are they the same size? Yes, they are. Or maybe they are off a little bit. Hang on just a second. Are they? Maybe just a smidge. Actually wider. These might be just a smidge wider. But I'm just seeing if one falls out. Like if I were shuffling, if it would fall out. Yep. I don't think you can see, but you see that dark line there? Or just a smidge wider. Just a smidge. It seems to me anyway. But there's potential there to intermingle the decks. So I'm going to keep that in mind. At some point I'll have to ask the decks whether they want to be mingled or not. Alright everybody. If you have stayed through this little foray into the heart of Faerie, thank you very much. You're appreciated. I was kind of looking for an excuse to get on and do something anyway. But I just couldn't think of what it was I was going to do. Yeah, the whole of two minds, indecision. It's been with me for a while now, for a couple of months. Anyway, thanks a lot for hanging out, and I will see you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.